Hello, I'm going mad here. You can see, look at me. I look like a madman who sits at home in his kitchen alone doing mad things on mad drawings, trying desperately to explain reality. And that's what I've got here. We're really so close. We've got it. Okay, so I'm going to have a go at it. Let's see what you think. So I'm going to keep my phone up this way because it just goes wrong otherwise. So this is Euler's disk in rest time. So you see Euler's disk. Euler's disk is you're adding energy to the spinning of the planet, and then you see the spin roll motion of the Euler's disk doing this, rolling, spin rolling, and that the axis is precesses and it rotates. And that's the key, that the precession and the rotation are two different actions. And they must be, because you need to have any displacement on the rigid body equals one rotation at the center. And this is the center that I'm describing to you. So this is Euler's disk, center of planet, and it's the time particle equator, and it's rolling. The equator does this. And so what I'm doing at the speed of light, so what I'm doing, I'm freezing the action at rest time, going for a double whammy. Rest mass this is mass, so I've binned all that, and I'm just saying that now we're now having rest time, I'm looking at the relationship between the two accelerations of the axis precession and the axis rotation. So I know from Ross's work that we have the bearing of 16 to 32 motion in real time underneath, measured the duration of Planck's constant. So that action's going on. And so the rotation of the axis from underneath, supporting it here like this is underneath, in a slot of a groove. Imagine that's a groove in the disk of the equator of force at the center of the planet. And so the motion of the axis is that. Yeah, so the disk is still. Imagine the disk is stationary, and it's the axis itself that's doing that motion, whoosh, 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 whipping round. Yeah, so you get a whip, rotation, whipping back. At the point of rotation at the center, there is an action above, so that the rotation occurs now at the top side of the disk. And so the motion of the axis is going to go whip in real time, Planck's constant, and then in instant for the rigid body it goes rotating at each corner, gets back to where it started, and it's powered by the light that it's created from these reverses. That as the vacuum energy is created, so there's a void created here, as the light is created here in the pentagon shape of the five-sided pentagon shaped Vitruvian man, he's on his head here. You get a void in the center, and then the clockwise rotation occurs because all this action is anti-clockwise. It must go about a self-supported point. And so how does a sphere support itself? A sphere of water in this case, how does it do it? Because it's supported from underneath with this motion in real time, and the axis is created from above by the spark of light and the single rotation around. So the light fibers, then they come from the planet expands spherically, and that sphere is in terms of fibers heading out to the edge of the planet, and then that creates a sphere, and then the sphere can be analyzed at its disk, universal disk. The universal axis now is the equator. This is where it equates back to the universe. Go back to the center, and you find that because it's created a field of electromagnetism, because you have the rotation of the mass and the electricity is created, you're creating the magnetism, and that creates a field, and therefore the axis that is created here is the axis that is experienced underneath. And so they're out of back with each other because of the time it takes, the duration that it takes for the field to express itself from there to the center of the planet means that there's a wobble on it. And the wobble is created by the twist vector, the vector axis twisting, so that it leaves with a twist force on it from the top. When it gets back to the bottom, that twist force is resulting in a motion like this. And that motion is following that slot underneath, the whip. So it's just literally cracking, crack, 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 crack. And every time it cracks, it emits light. And so it emits light every bit of Planck's constant. This is Leve. So what I'm saying is that when it gets to the surface, the expansion force creates the axis first. So the axis of the expanded surface, the rotation of the molecules at the surface, should do a full rotation. but they're going to rotate around. They're rotating this way because they have to because that's the main force, the orbital momentum. And so the axis for the orbital momentum has to grow. So the sphere is now from there to there, and then it can do the rotation about its axis. See? So this is all vector potential. This is Victor Levy's vector potential, where as the axis will grow during this motion, the axis will grow that amount because of the twisting force that's in it, but it's held back by its own elastic modulus, so the stretching of the light fiber to that distance. As it stretches, it creates higher and higher load, and the high load has an impact on the precession of the axis as well. So that as it's growing, it's subject to a massive twisting force, infinite. It could do anything from there to there, but it'll have a resultant, and that resultant will be the twist force on the vector axis. So you've got the two axes, vector acting on the precession and the precession acting on the vector angle itself. That makes sense? So it's the cracking of a whip. Is this motion creating itself in light at the center of the planet? It's all a fumble, isn't it? I do my best to rush through this stuff, but what do you do? Yeah, what does one do in this case? I can prove the Earth's the center of the universe. Prove it absolutely categorically using the work of Victor Levy, classified information, atomic energy. Once you prove the Earth is the center, everything makes sense. All that science is doing is taking the coefficients and making you look at the coefficients. We don't care about them. We care about the answer. The answer is the Reynolds number, the viscosity, the relationship between the axis and the wobbly axis. It's inertial forces over viscous forces. Reynolds number. And that's the biblical prophecy fulfilled, 666, all that stuff. Yeah, so it's really strange. Sunday's always like this here in Taswell. Follow the Rebel King.